Welcome, friends, to Crazy Women Country, where women's voices matter. We bring you the greatest female voices in the music industry, from the artists, songwriters, and producers, to managers and executives, and all the women who make the music industry what it is today. Thank you for joining us. Welcome, friends, to another episode of Crazy Women Country. I am Donna, and today we are here with the talented Ollee Owens. How are you doing?
I am doing well, thank you. It's great to be here.
So glad to have you. And I know we were talking before about the weather, but we should fill everyone in. It's nice and like 70-ish degrees here in Florida, and you're having a high temperature, you told me from yesterday, of
Yes, it's 0 degrees here up in Canada, but we had -37, -40 last week, so it is a balmy 0 degrees. Yes, it's feeling pretty good today.
oh, I have to admit, the only time I would suffer through that is for the Northern Lights exposure. Yeah. Other than that, I commend anyone that does that. The coldness is not like I like cold, but just too much for me, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I think you do get used to it to some degree. However, the -40s, those are definitely tough weeks up here. But yes, the Northern Lights are stunning, and if you have a chance to see them, it is worth braving the cold for sure.
Wonderful. I promise to call you when I'm up there.
Okay, yeah, we
Yeah.
can. They're not far from here. We can see them from here.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Now that we're talking about that, I will tell you, I was in Oregon and they were expecting this last summer sometime to have them there. And then all of a sudden, oh yeah, no, we're not having them here. I'm like, oh, come on. I'm in like the location you said they were going to be. I was so disappointed. Like I was almost in
Oh
tears,
dear.
disappointed. I'm like, and
Yeah.
that's not me usually, but I was like, I was so excited, so pumped up. And I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
but
it's certainly something this is quite a natural phenomenon, like to see it in person. Growing up, I grew up a couple of provinces east of here, and we would see them often as kids, and it never got old for me. It was always such an amazing experience. I would always stop and watch, for a time, just because it's just so beautiful. Yeah.
that's so awesome.
Hmm.
So I'm going to start off with the most difficult question.
Hmm.
Okay. Who is Ollee Owens?
Oh, who is Ollie Owens? Oh boy, that's a big question. Um,
I promise, most
Ollie
difficult question
Owens.
all day.
Yeah, okay. You know, um, Ollie Owens. I, since I was a little girl, music and singing was kind of the biggest voice in my life. Ever since I was like 5 years old, there was something about my connection with music and how it's kind of almost been like been a friend to me, and it's walked me through life, to some degree, through the ups and downs of life, and provided safety and solace and celebration and all these things, and so it's truly been a gift that I have employed throughout my life, but definitely more so since around 2015. I had taken a hiatus to raise our daughters. We have three daughters, one of whom has a developmental disability, and so I poured myself into them for during their formative years, and as they got older and more independent, and my daughter was in a really good place with great supports. Music kind of came to the forefront again. And in that time, I was volunteering doing music therapy actually in her classroom for about a decade, and that's kind of how I hung on to that musical part of myself. And then as I kind of dove into in 2015, more writing and recording and performing live and connecting with audiences, it really I think just reinforced my passion to connect with people through music and hopefully provide, an experience for them, um, kind of like what to create and hold space and write songs where kind of what I experienced through music. It's always been a desire of mine, to connect with people, and so I think, Ollie. Ollie at the core is a connector, and the bridge that connects her to other people is music and story and song. And so that's probably the best way I can describe it at the moment. And of course, Ollie is changing and evolving and all the time with different things, but and experiences and all those things. But at the moment, I think that's really the core of who Ollie is. Yeah.
And embracing the life. That's it. I
Hmm.
think that last part, just
Yeah.
embracing life.
Yeah. Yeah. And sharing it with people just through the medium of music and song and story, and it's something that I don't take for granted. I certainly walk in gratitude each day to do this thing that ever since I was a little girl, I loved experiencing, but also being a part of. So it's pretty amazing.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you were
Mhm.
able to kind of bring it back out into the forefront and get out there more. And because that's exactly how we found you. And that's our thing is we're trying to help promote as many women as we can and do what we can to help them. And it's great to see that. And, I had a great conversation. Someone else said to me the other day, like, oh, well, I started music later in life, really professionally. And I'm like, that's okay. There's a lot of us that do that. We, not just that. I mean, music, writing, whatever it is. I mean, you don't ever have
Yeah.
to be just one thing. You can, grow up to be whatever you want, whenever you want, right? So,
Yeah, and I think, to some degree, life circumstances, can kind of, I think, determine the path a little bit, But I agree. I think that's been one of the most exciting things is, even though, parts of me really wanted to do this and start out younger, life circumstances at that time just weren't they weren't pointing in that direction. And I do remember there were times when I felt like, man, like I really want to do this. And I might have just taken that dream and maybe put it aside, for a while. And I wasn't sure if I'd go back to it. I wasn't sure if I was going to open that box up again. But as things worked out, I was able to do so. And it's been so exciting to be able to encourage other women to not give up on the dreams that they have in their life. And I've talked to so many people at shows and out when I'm out and about, and it's just been really cool to be able to kind of be living that out in a way where they feel inspired and they feel like they actually want to revisit that, or they're thinking about it. And to me, I think, like, even for my daughters to see me doing this after spending time, and I have no regrets. Like, I have no regrets about investing my time in them when they were young. um, but for them to actually see me pursuing this and just seeing all the different things that I'm doing and places I'm going, it's been kind of neat to be able to be a part of that. And again, I don't take it for granted. I do feel like it is, um, every day is a gift, and every chance I get to share with people and talk with people and sing and all those things is just really a gift. So yeah.
absolutely. And I mean, it's such a
Mhm.
great thing, your kids getting to see that, that doesn't matter what life throws at you. You can always live your dreams. And
Mhm.
it is inspiration. I mean, there's no other word for it. It's
Mhm.
just inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I'm going to backtrack a little bit since I know we're in 2024, but your debut album actually officially came out in 2022.
Yeah.
We were talking
Hmm.
about that a little. It's a great album. Love it.
Thank you.
I
Thank
know
you.
I mentioned Through the Darkness was my favorite song today. So
Yeah. Yeah.
tell me a little bit about behind the song, or actually, if you want to tell me
Sure.
about the project of releasing your debut
Sure.
album.
Yeah. Yeah. I can do a little chat a little bit about that for sure. So so we were there. We had plans to do that project 2020, beginning of 2020, actually, and right the week March, that March
COVID.
week where everything kind of shut down. I was heading down to Nashville to connect with our producer down there and everything, and we were kind of going to start getting the ball rolling on that project. And of course, everything kind of suddenly came to a halt, and then it took a while took a bit to regroup, and then ultimately, as as things kind of unfolded and we realized that traveling was going to be more difficult, we made the decision to actually do the project, but do it remotely. In the sense that we had all of the instrumentation, and the producer, he was getting everything done down in Nashville, and then I was doing my vocals up here. A friend of mine has a studio up here, and so I was working with him, and so that's kind of like how the project kind of came together. And I mean, we were doing Zoom sessions. I was zooming into the tracking sessions with the guys down in Nashville, which was kind of, I mean, thank goodness for technology. I think that was great. I mean, nothing replaces being in person. But I was grateful we had the technology so that we were able to get these songs done, and get the collective of songs done so that we could get the project out. Yeah, and through the darkest night, in particular, it's it's a love song, and yet it's really speaks to that person who's kind of with through maybe the darkest parts, or everybody's has bad days, and sometimes people have a bad week or a month or a couple years, or life obviously throws us all kinds of things, and I really wanted to celebrate that relationship where that person's kind of stuck with you through it all. And I've been with my husband for 25 years now, which is kind of crazy and blows my mind. We've certainly had our ups and downs. It has not been easy. We are two of the most different people you could ever put together, which sometimes I think we look at each other and go, how's this supposed to work? But it's been hard work. It's been the choices to be gracious with each other, all those things. But then, yes, through various circumstances, so I drew from personal experience when writing that song, because I think it is something to be celebrated. So, but it was interesting too, because when we went in to track that song originally, how I had a couple of ideas going. I was like, do we take it this direction? Do we take it that direction? Because a lot of my influences, I grew up with, I say, a lot of great music. There was, everything from country to gospel to like Elvis and the Beatles to rock, classic rock, right? So I had a wide breadth of influences. And so initially, I thought maybe it would even push a little more country than it does. But then all of a sudden, when we actually got to recording it, there was kind of this little bit of a rocky element in it. And I was like, oh, it kind of speaks sonically to like, there is intensity in our life sometimes, right? And so it was kind of fun when, we came out of that session and all of us were like, wow, okay, like that was cool, like it was just kind of a bit of a surprising, and yet it fits so well. It was kind of, unexpected, and yet I really feel like it captured the intensity of a relationship that over time has that. And then there's these kind of soulful kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but the soulful moments, right? And then there's just that intent. Yeah. So it was pretty exciting. I remember after that session thinking, I was pretty excited about how it all turned out. So yeah.
Well, it's a great album. So
thank you.
That's for sure. And if you haven't heard it, run after the interview, go listen to it.
Yeah. Cannot be unheard. We're on all the places you can find music. Yeah.
Oh, so who are some of the women that have inspired you? I mean, you were saying it was just this eclectic genre there. I feel the same way when I grew up too. So
yeah, I mean, I was certainly introduced to a lot of kinds of music. My dad was a musician. He played kind of in local bands growing up. My mom came from pretty musical family as well. And for myself, I kind of had waves of like influences, but I'd say, some of the women in music in particular that have really influenced me would be Mavis Staples, Etta James, I would say Bonnie Raitt, Oh man, I mean, a lot of the soul singers like Mahalia, I remember hearing them for the first time and just my mind being blown. Another prolific writer, in my view, is Julie Miller. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Buddy and Julie, but Julie's writing was really impacted me at a particularly challenging time in my life. Yeah, and so a lot of, I would say those are the main ones. However, I mean, there's just so many incredible artists out there, writers that, they've just written material and lived these lives that have been just so, um, uh, I don't know, just there's so much to learn from them, right? I love to read, so I read a lot of like autobiographies and particularly musicians like I've read Stevie Nicks and Joni and you know Aretha and all the ones I've mentioned. I always try to find something. I just want to just because I feel like there's always something, everything that happens teaches, right? And so even other people's lives and their experiences. And so those have been some of the big ones for me, for sure, that have influenced me as a writer, as a creator, but even just as a person. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. So,
Mhm.
since you're such an avid reader, I'm going to actually ask this question way before I ask the crazy questions here. Um, Tell me, what was like the last thing you read that you would recommend to someone else to read?
Oh, I was hoping you'd ask that actually.
I'm an
I
avid
actually
reader
have
too,
it. I
so
have it. I have it here. Can I show it to you? I do
yes,
have this one book. So I read this book last summer. Have you read this book?
I have not read that book yet. It is
Okay,
on my
I
list, but
highly recommend it. This Viola is just she's someone I've admired ever since I watched. Oh my gosh, what was the movie? The first movie I watched um with her in it. I can't remember it right now, but I remember the first time I watched her in her element, and I was just really inspired by her. And when I saw that this book came out, I picked it up, and it was just incredibly impactful in terms of just the incredible amount of difficulty that she has dealt with in her life and her determination, you know, to not allow that to define her um, in the sense of her career and all that kind of stuff. So I highly recommend it. It's an incredible book. It was very inspiring. Um, you know, because for myself growing up, there was quite a bit of ups and downs and in my family life and so I think just kind of being able to read someone else's experiences and how they overcame that and just the determination and the um and yet also still coming out of it with a positive outlook, right? And I think that was just really inspiring for me. So I would highly recommend it. Viola Davis, Finding Me, really good, great book. Yeah, and yeah, that's probably one of the books in the last couple, out of the last batch that I've read that really stands out to me. So if you get a chance, I highly recommend it.
will do. So,
Mhm,
since I'm asking questions that I normally ask during our crazy question portion, would you like to
mhm.
do our 13 crazy questions now?
Sure. Yeah, I'm up. I'm up for anything.
Okay. Well, I promise we won't get arrested yet.
Sounds
That
good.
that's my tagline every show. So,
Mm, sounds good. Sounds good.
so tell me, do you have any guilty pleasure music? That stuff that's buried away that no one really knows you listen to, but it's good.
Oh, you know what? I like me some John Mayer when I'm just hanging out. I don't know. There's something about that guy, the way he plays his guitar. I would say I usually go if it's just me, just driving and by myself. I'll throw him into the stereos or whatever. Turn them on my streaming. Yeah, I don't know. Just I really like what he does. So yeah.
I was gonna say I said something last week in a meeting at work, and they're like, "Wow, you just showed your age." I'm like, "What?" stuff like that. Radio. Because I was like, oh, we stream
It's true.
that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's interesting. Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess so. Hey, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Finish this line. Today, my
Hmm.
favorite song is.
Oh, that's good. I am currently. Oh, it's more of an album than an actual song, but I'm listening to Robert Plant, Alison Krauss, their new album. I've been listening to that quite a bit on repeat. I really like it. I like the combination of those two. I think it makes for some really great music, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Hmm. Hmm.
Oh, if there was a song that would play every time you enter the room, what song would
Hmm.
that be?
Oh my goodness. Um, mm, that is a good question. Oh my gosh. I have some soul singers that come to mind. You know what? I'm drawing a blank because I think something from the soul music genre, probably an Etta James song, maybe. Um, what is it? Man, I can't think of an exact one, but just imagine this, just the soul music, like the horns and something coming through, maybe even "Respect" by Aretha. I think that would be a good one. Just like something energetic and soulful, and lots of horns and some good singing.
I love that. Oh.
Hmm.
So tell me, what's the best excuse for being late that you've ever used or heard?
Oh man, for being late.
I mean, because you have three daughters, right? So, I mean, one of them has to give me a
Yeah,
good
you
excuse
know
every once in a
what?
while.
Well, no, it's true. Yeah, I mean, the best excuse for being late, I don't know, like, I mean, up here it's common. My car didn't start, in winter. I mean, that's like probably the most common. My car didn't start. It was too cold. I couldn't get where I needed to go. My girls will be eat your homework. Oh, 1 second. Sorry. I've just got to run. My daughter is
No
here.
problem.
I'll just quickly run.
And we're back because
Perfect.
kids, right? They have to interrupt
Life
because
happens. Life
that's life.
happens.
That's at least it was my dogs today. Yes, the other day my dogs
Yeah.
were howling at a FedEx person. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Let me just mute
Yeah.
myself. And I'm like, I'd
Yeah.
like to ask you a question, but I can't unmute myself. No,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh
no,
dear. Oh,
no, it
good.
happens.
Okay. So
That's
where were we? You were asking about.
we were talking about the best excuse for being late that you've either used or heard.
Yeah.
And
Honestly, I would say, man, like up here, we get 8 months of winter up here. So that is a common excuse. I don't know if it's the best one in particular, but yeah,
it's just common.
probably
I
probably the most common one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's because it's so cold. I mean, yeah. Realistically, yeah. I'd be like, my car wouldn't start, and then I had to wait till my car started, and then it took me another 20 minutes till it was warm to leave. Like that would have been me. Like I'd have been
Yeah.
like, I had to wait
I
another
mean,
20 minutes because it's too cold to get in the car.
well, and last week when we had -40, there was a 3-day wait for roadside assistance. 3 days.
Oh wow.
So if your car didn't start, you had to figure it out or hire someone else to do it. But roadside assistance was like 72 hours. So it happens.
It does.
Yeah.
I will
Hmm.
remember this to make sure that I have a backup of everything I need for
Yeah.
traveling in Canada in
Yeah.
in the winter months, the 8 months
In
that's
the
winter.
winter months. Summer's
Yeah.
great. I mean.
Or I have you on speed dial, be like, can you come pick me up?
Yeah. I'll be right there.
Oh.
Yeah.
So if you ever wrote a book, what
Mhm.
genre would it be?
Um, I it would probably be like a biography. Like, I don't know. It might be like, what genre would it be? Yeah, probably like, I mean, I just love reading the stories of people's lives. So that's probably what I'd write. I don't know. I think there's probably enough interesting stuff. Maybe. I don't know. To me, might be interesting enough to someone else to read, but it'd sure be great to just go through the exercise of writing it anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was talking at work again, and I was telling them about, something, and I was going on about this little story about my raccoon in my attic. And they're like, have you ever listened to Jenny Lawson? I'm like, no, I have not, or read her books. I'm like, no. They're like, you should. And granted, she has a memory problem, but it's really funny. It reminded me of how you were telling the story. I'm like, oh, great. Good to know.
Well, yeah, that would be the thing. I probably need a good editor because sometimes I'm like telling stories and I'll pull something from somewhere else and they're like, how does that connect? I'm like, I don't know.
It doesn't. It was just a
Came to
cute story.
mind. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, tell me something on your bucket list.
Oh, on my bucket list would be to uh, to sing on stage at least once in my life with um, kind of my musical heroes, who mainly would be, I'd love to like Mavis and Bonnie and Cheryl and, a few others. It would be, that'd be amazing. I think that would just be a dream come true for me, just because I find so much inspiration, and even just to share a moment like that where I could even just be part of something like that. I think it would certainly be a bucket list thing for me, musically. Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Tell me, do you have a game plan for zombie apocalypse?
Oh, that's a very good question. Well, we do have a lot of wide open spaces here in Canada. And I guess, you know what? I I would envision myself um, probably connecting with one of my friends who lives in the country somewhere. And then just finding a little place to settle down and kind of, off the grid and just kind of mind my own business and hopefully no one finds out where I am. That would be my plan, I think. Yeah, just live a quiet life in the woods somewhere.
I love that. And
Yeah.
you should be good because apparently zombies don't like snow. I'm thinking though that right now we need to do a zombie movie with snow because yeah, as someone pointed it out the other day, there's never been a zombie movie with snow or TV show. And I'm like, huh,
Huh.
good to
Interesting.
know.
Interesting.
So
Yeah, I mean, that is good to know. Then I'm in a good spot. Well, I'll just stay where I am.
uh,
Oh, that's great.
if you had a pet parrot, what
Hmm.
would you teach it to say?
If I had a pet parrot, uh, what would I teach? These are great questions, by the way. Um, what would I teach it to say? Probably something that would like annoy me and cheer me on at the same time, like something really positive. So if anyone came around, it would be like, you know, um, you know, like you are awesome, or like they're just super encouraging, but like you know what I
Yeah.
mean. So when you're having like a really crappy day and the parrot's just like you're amazing, and I'd be like shut up but thank you, and then on the days when maybe you're fine, you're like okay, I know. But I'd probably teach it to say some like positive, like cheer a person on, probably. I think that's what I teach it to say.
Oh, I love that. Oh. So hypothetically, if I came to
Mm-hmm.
you and said, "Hey, Ollie, I have a dead body. Do you know a good hiding place?"
Ooh, do I know a good hiding place? I'm sure up here we could find something somewhere. Like I said, I live kind of on the edge of a big city, so we're kind of close to the country, and there's lots of farmland and trees around and stuff like that. So I'm sure we could find a spot like somewhere. I don't know where,
For,
but I'm sure if we just drove a little while and kind of, you know, I don't know. I'm sure we could figure it out.
yeah,
Yeah, wide
yeah, we
open
don't
spaces up
incriminate
here.
online here anyway. We don't incriminate on the recording. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. exactly. Oh dear.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, if we made a movie about your life, who
Hmm.
would you want to play you?
Ooh. Oh my. I'm trying to think who in the past who I've been told that I look like, but that's at various stages in my life. Like when I was really young, I had people said I look like what's her name from Lord of the Rings. She was the daughter of the elves. What was her name again? Anyway, oh, Lily
Yeah, I'm
Evangeline, maybe. Maybe, yeah. Lily, is her name Lily Evangeline? I've had
I
people
will say
kind of go,
yes. Yeah.
I could see you kind of, maybe she could play me. It depends how tall she is, because believe it or not, I'm only 4'11" and 3/4, and on a windy day I reach 5 because of this
5 foot
little
there.
do that I have.
Yeah.
But most people are quite surprised when they meet me because they think I'm taller, but I'm actually under 5 feet. So there you go. But I
See,
think it
we
would
all
be
got.
her. I think it would be her if someone had to cast. I think at least looks wise, and then I'm sure she's an incredible actress, so I'm sure she can assume different characters. If I don't, my personality doesn't quite fit. Yeah. Hmm.
I think it'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Your personality is perfect.
Thank
Oh,
you.
so what is, in your opinion, the worst pizza topping?
The worst pizza topping would have to be. I'm not really a fan of anchovies. Not on pizza. I like seafood and fish, but not on pizza. The anchovies would probably be my worst that I can
I,
think of right now. Yeah, just I never really understood that one. I
yeah.
watched it in the cartoons growing up, in Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry. They'd always have the big anchovy on top of the pizza, and I'm like, I don't know, doesn't really resonate. No, it's like
Yep.
I don't know.
And of
Yeah,
course, anchovies were huge. And you're like, when you get your anchovies are really like,
yeah.
they're
I
not
don't
that
know,
big.
just this idea of a little whole fish. Just I think from an aesthetic perspective, it's kind of like, nah, I'm
That's
good.
weird. Yeah.
Maybe they taste
Oh,
good,
weird.
but I'm just not. I don't know what it just doesn't sit with me very well.
Oh, tell me something that you would never do.
I would never do. Hmm. I would never. I would. I would never go into um, a swimming area that was known to have sharks frequent it. I would never do it. Now, even if they said there were no sharks, I wouldn't go. Mm-mm. No, I'm not taking a chance. I gotta keep these things. I gotta keep my hands. I gotta keep my arms. My livelihood depends on it. And also, you know, I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah, I that's what I'd never do.
Oh, what's the strangest thing in your fridge?
Ooh. Uh the strangest thing. You mean like today? Or the
Yeah.
strangest thing that's ever been in my fridge?
Oh, we could go with been in the fridge because I've had some science experiments, but because every once in a while you forget something somewhere and you're like, oh my God, where was that? Like, I swear I took the
Okay.
fridge out.
Well, this isn't so much that it was a science experiment, but my husband's family is from Holland, and my mother-in-law came over one time, and she'd made sandwiches for everybody, and I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we'll eat your sandwiches." And so she put them in the fridge. They were in the fridge because they had to be in the fridge before we ate, and then she served them to all of us. And then afterwards, she told us they were horse meat. And I was like,
Oh,
what? Oh my gosh. Because I'm a huge horse lover. So that was probably the strangest thing that was ever in my fridge. And I actually, and she was, she meant well. And there was, but afterwards I was like so sad because that's just
yeah.
not yeah, that was the strangest thing that's
This,
probably ever been in my fridge that I would never, ever choose to put there. But apparently it's very common there. and she's from the generation where it would have even been more common to eat
Hmm.
that. So so she just didn't think anything of it, but I was quite mortified.
Right. Right.
That's okay. She's a wonderful woman. I just wasn't expecting that from her that day. I was like, oh my gosh, what? What did you just feed my children? Anyway, that was the one and only time I will ever, yeah, that was the
Yeah.
weird thing that was ever in my fridge. Mm-hmm.
It is
Yeah.
unique. Like I think depending on countries where you're from, different things. Yeah, I've heard of some very
Yeah.
unique and weird things people eat, and I'm like, maybe I'm just a little too American. I guess I'm just gonna go with that sometimes as an excuse. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it's just, to me, there's lots of other lovely things to eat,
right. Like fried scorpions on a stick. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah, that's yeah. And then another time we had little crunchy deep fried crickets one time too, and I was like, man, can't we just eat like normal food?
Right, right, right. I
I
mean,
was like,
are we starving? Are we low on food? Is there a shortage? I just want to know
yeah,
because if there is, okay,
yeah.
I'll eat it. But
There's yeah, like
but
I don't
yeah.
eating bugs is I don't know. I mean, if that's the only thing there is, I guess. But yeah, yeah.
Right,
There's
right.
some
If I was
strange
lost in the
foods out there.
forest, and yeah, I mean
Yeah,
that. Okay, then
and you're
I
hungry.
survival.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. For
Yes.
sure. For sure. But yeah, that was definitely the strangest thing that was
Yeah.
ever in my fridge ever. Yeah.
Ah, okay. So, are there any words of wisdom that you live by?
Many. I would say there's many words of wisdom, but I think you know uh, I was raised on the golden rule. Doing to others as you'd have them do to you. Um, but ultimately, I think I believe every single person on this earth has something to offer and um, is inherently worthy and valuable. And I think that core belief, um, it really, I think, guides everything I do, how I live my life, my art, my creating. It's just that I think far too many of us, uh, you know, somehow, somewhere along the way, we may have forgotten that, or maybe someone told us otherwise. And I know for my own self, that's been something that I've had to kind of, move away from that idea of not being enough, and I think if there's anything, um, I desire is I just want people to know that you are enough and you are special and you have something to offer. And so I think, um, to me, that is really, really important because when we can realize that truth, it can make all the difference in how we occur in life and how we interact with other people and how whether or not we choose to give what we have and contribute to the world around us, because I believe that the world needs what you and I have, and
Yeah.
that's going to be different. Everybody's got different things. Everybody's got different gifts and abilities and ways of seeing things and all those things. And I think if I could go back and to the younger me, and I often ask myself that, like, man, if I can go back to the younger me, what would I tell her, and I really think it would be that is that what you have is enough, and you are loved, and you are an incredible human being, and you need to just go for it, and you be the best version of yourself. And I think to some degree, um, we part of the human experience is discovering who is that best version of me, because again, life happens, and tough times come, and we experience things. Some of us have experienced trauma, and we've had to do the work to work through that and try to figure out how to move again towards that best version of ourselves. And I believe it's possible. I'm living proof that it is. I've done a lot of work in my own life to come face to face with different experiences that I've had, and there was a time when I believed that maybe it wasn't possible, and then um, but I didn't give up because I think deep down inside, I believed I was worth that. I was worth that struggle. And I have no regrets on the other side of that. And again, it's not like life is perfect and I have days. I mean, we all have days. Come on, let's
Yeah.
be real.
It's
But
not the Monday Monday today, but yes.
no, right? Like, but
Yeah,
some Mondays are Monday
it
and it's
is.
not fun? So, but the thing is, I think I've come to realize too, it's just, we just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other and not give up on yourself, even on those days when, there's a temptation to do so. Um, and even also coming to the point to celebrating who you are and embracing who you are, because this is the body that's bringing you through life. And yeah, I don't know. I guess that's a lot, but that's kind of what's in my heart. Um, you know, it's just, it's so important to be able to come to the point where you embrace who you are and who you've been created to be, and what you have to give, because
Mhm.
people need it. People around you need it. And
Absolutely.
I
And the
think
growth, the
you
growth of that
you
person
end
in
up,
you. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and
So
and
it's
and I think,
constantly,
yeah,
yeah.
no, it is, and I think even as you come closer and closer to realizing that best version of yourself, it empowers you to continue that journey, right? And again, I mean, I
Yes.
don't think
Yes.
any of us arrive completely, but it's a constant unfolding and discovering, and it's kind of exciting when you discover all these little bits about yourself, and it's like, yeah, actually, that's pretty cool. Yeah. So
Yes.
yeah.
It is. And I think, and I'm not to say aging, but I think sometimes as we age or as we change and we grow and we,
Hmm.
you know, I think it
Hmm.
just gives us new perspectives like that. And,
Yeah.
you can constantly evolve to the best you. There's always
Hmm.
another day. I hate to say it that way, but yeah, you have another day to try to grow to that person.
Yeah, there is, and I think, you know back to what I had mentioned it earlier, but everything that happens in life can teach us, right? And I think if
Yes.
we're
Yes.
willing to, if a student shows up, the teacher appears, and there's so much to be learned, even from less than ideal circumstances.
Absolutely.
It's there's a lesson in it all, and I think the other big thing is gratitude. um, Realizing that no matter what, there's always something we can find to be grateful for, even if it's a tiny little thing, even if it's the sun shining in our window that day, and that's
Mhm.
all there is in our life. I think it can really make a difference, in getting us through, you know, whatever it is we're experiencing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So. Mhm.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
I know way before we started the whole interview, we were
Hmm.
talking about some new projects. So can we talk
Yeah.
about those? Like, tell me, like, what's
Sure.
happening? Yeah.
So it's been kind of pretty exciting. I actually did release a little mini holiday project, in December. We had some fun. In Went down, because I'm currently working between, here and in Nashville, and so we went down in September, and we cut that little EP, and called it Home for the Ollie Days, just for fun, because I think it's good not to take
Yes,
yourself too seriously and have some fun with stuff
absolutely.
sometimes. And it was great. Really kind of soulful, bluesy kind of. That
Mhm.
was where we kind of dove into that, because I love. I really wanted to go for that kind of nostalgic, vintage, soulful sound. That's my kind of favorite Christmas music. So I was like, let's make some of that, and we did, and it was really fun. And it went over well. It was received well, so that was pretty exciting. And currently, we are working on, some new music, which I'm really excited about. Uh, it's been so great to just get back to writing, and then, actualizing. As a songwriter, it's like you're writing these songs, and they're ideas, and they kind of bubble up in your head, and then you kind of get
Mhm.
into the studio and you start working on it and developing the song, and each song, I find, just kind of speaks to you. It kind of tells you what it wants, in a sense. And I'm really fortunate to be working with some people who are really believe in serving the song, and so it's been really cool to see kind of what's unfolding. And sonically, we're we're in the same vein as the last project, and we're even kind of, exploring a little bit kind of around that, especially in terms of soulful and, there's that blues, there's a rock, there's kind of that Americana sound in there. So that's really super exciting. And so we're working on that stuff. We have a couple of singles that, we're kind of at this point where we're working on deciding, okay, which ones are we going to let out first, and it's hard to choose, which I'm so excited about. So we're hoping for April, May. We're hoping to release the first single then. I'm actually going to be heading down to Nashville this Friday, at the end of the week here, for another week of sessions. And so we're going to be recording some more stuff, some new material, and really excited about that. So so new music is most definitely coming this year. So be on the lookout for that. And it's like I said, I have so much gratitude to be where I'm at this point, and creating, writing, and releasing the music, and of course, getting out there with people and sharing it in person, which you can't beat it. After the last bunch of years we had, man, it's like you can't beat being in the room with people, and that's one of my favorite places to be.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so everyone, make sure you go follow. We'll have the links below. Make sure you go follow Ollee for all of the latest releases coming out, as well as tours. When she's playing live, you'll find that on her website as well.
Yes.
So it has been a pleasure having you on today, and you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you, Donna. It's been wonderful to be here. I really appreciate you guys having me, and what you guys are doing to support women in the industry is just incredible. And I can't speak for everyone, but from me, thank you. It means a lot, as an independent artist out there doing my thing, to have support and to be able to get to know everyone in your world here. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's the goal, is to build this community of, up and coming women that just have great music out and be able to share it and help them grow as well. Amazing. Help you grow. And that's our goal.
Amazing.
So,
thank you.
And thank you, friends, for joining us for another episode. We'll see you next time. If you enjoyed today's episode of Crazy Women Country, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Be sure to click the subscribe button for new interviews weekly. And thank you, friends, for joining us today on Crazy Women Country, where women's voices matter.